The truth is simple, unavoidable, and deeply uncomfortable. Every single one of us is going to die someday. No matter how rich we become, how powerful our position is, how carefully we plan, or how hard we try to control outcomes, the final destination is the same for all. Death is the great equalizer. It does not discriminate between kings and beggars, saints and sinners, the successful and the struggling. Knowing this, a powerful question arises. If the ending is certain, what is the point of worrying so much about everything in between? Most of our worries are rooted in fear. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. We worry about money, relationships, reputation, the future, mistakes from the past, and expectations placed upon us by society. But when viewed through the lens of mortality, many of these worries suddenly lose their weight. If life is temporary, then worry is too expensive a price to pay for things that will not last forever. Worry steals the present moment in exchange for imagined futures that may never come. Worry is the mind's attempt to control the uncontrollable. We replay conversations that already happened, wishing we had said something differently. We imagine worst-case scenarios that have no guarantee of becoming real. We stress over outcomes that are not entirely in our hands. And in doing so, we sacrifice the only thing we truly own, this moment. Death reminds us that time is limited, and worrying is one of the most wasteful ways to spend it. Understanding that we will die one day does not make life meaningless. It makes life precious. A limited resource always carries more value than an unlimited one. Because life has an end, every breath matters. Every smile matters. Every chance to love, forgive, learn, and grow matters. If we were immortal, procrastination would feel harmless. We would keep saying tomorrow. It whispers, do it now, feel it now, live it now. When we truly accept death, our priorities begin to shift. We start asking better questions. Instead of, what will people think? We ask, what feels true to me? Instead of, what if I fail? We ask, what if I never try? Instead of, how do I avoid discomfort? We ask, what kind of life do I want to remember? Death has a strange way of clarifying what truly matters and exposing what never did. Most worries are about things that will not matter on our deathbed. No one at the end of life wishes they had worried more. No one says, I'm glad I spent so many nights anxious about other people's opinions. Instead, people wish they had loved more freely, lived more honestly, and been more present. They wish they had taken chances, expressed their feelings, and followed their inner calling rather than fear. Worry also assumes that pain is unacceptable, that struggle means something has gone wrong. But life, by its very nature, includes hardship. Pain is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of being alive. When we stop trying to avoid all pain and instead accept it as part of the human experience, worry loosens its grip. We realize that we are stronger than we think, and that we have survived every difficult day so far. Knowing we will die someday can also make us kinder. When you understand that everyone you meet is fighting their own silent battles and is just as temporary as you are, judgment softens, anger fades faster, forgiveness becomes easier. You stop taking things so personally. You recognize that most people are not your enemies. They are just humans trying to make sense of a confusing, fragile existence. Worry thrives on the illusion that we have endless time to fix things later. Death shatters that illusion. It teaches us that later is not guaranteed. That's why the present moment becomes sacred. A conversation with a loved one, a quiet walk, a shared laugh. These moments are not small. They are life itself. When worry consumes us, we miss them. When awareness of mortality grounds us, we cherish them. This does not mean we become careless or irresponsible. It means we become intentional. We still plan, we still work, we still strive, but without attaching our peace to outcomes we cannot control. We do our best and let go of the rest. We understand that success and failure are temporary roles, not permanent identities. In the end, what remains is not what we achieved, but how we lived and how we made others feel. Fear of death often fuels worry, but ironically, accepting death reduces fear. When we stop running from the idea of death and instead make peace with it, life becomes lighter. We stop living in constant defense mode. We stop hoarding, competing, and proving. We start experiencing. We start appreciating. We start living from a place of gratitude instead of anxiety. Every day you wake up is a gift that was never promised. When you truly feel that truth, you don't want to waste the day worrying about things beyond your control. You want to live it fully, with presence, courage, and honesty. You want to say what matters, do what matters, and love who matters. So what is the point of worrying when we are all going to die someday? There is none. Worry does not extend life. It does not deepen love. It does not add meaning. It only steals joy from the limited time we have. Awareness of death is not meant to depress us. It is meant to wake us up. Life is not about avoiding death. It is about living before it arrives. When we remember that our time is finite, we stop postponing happiness. We stop waiting for perfect conditions. We stop living for approval. We begin to live with intention, courage, and peace. And in that awareness, worry slowly loses its power, because we finally understand that being alive right now is already enough. When we truly sit with the idea that death is inevitable, something profound happens inside us. The mind, which is constantly racing toward future fears, suddenly slows down. We begin to see how much of our worry is unnecessary noise. Stories we tell ourselves that feel real but have no guarantee of truth. Most of our anxiety is not about what is happening, but about what might happen. Death teaches us that certainty is an illusion. And once that illusion breaks, worry starts to lose its authority over us. Think about how much energy humans waste worrying about control. We want control over outcomes, over people, over timing, over recognition. But death proves that control was never truly ours. If we cannot control when we arrive in this world, or when we leave it, how much control do we really have over the rest? This realization can feel frightening at first, but it is actually liberating. When control is released, peace enters. When acceptance replaces resistance, life becomes lighter. Worry often comes from living too much in the future. We imagine problems that don't yet exist, and then emotionally suffer through them in advance. But death brings us back to the present. It reminds us that the only place life happens is now. The past exists only as memory. The future exists only as imagination. The present moment is the only reality we ever touch, and worrying pulls us away from it. When you stop worrying excessively, you begin to notice life more clearly. You notice the warmth of sunlight, the sound of silence, the comfort of breath. You realize that peace was never something to be earned. It was something to be remembered. Worry clouds perception, and awareness of death is one of the sharpest forms of clarity we can have. Many people fear death because they feel they have not truly lived. That fear often turns into worry. Worry about success, about comparison, about legacy. But living fully does not mean doing everything. It means doing what aligns with your soul. When your actions reflect your truth, death loses its terror. A life lived honestly leaves little room for regret. Worry also disconnects us from faith, whether that faith is in God, in life, or in ourselves. Faith says, I will do my part and trust the rest. Worry says, nothing will work unless I constantly fear it. These two cannot coexist peacefully. When you accept that death is part of a larger design, you begin to trust that life too has meaning beyond your constant supervision. Consider how many arguments, grudges, and resentments exist only because we forget how temporary everything is. If we remembered death more often, we would choose peace more often. We would let go faster. We would speak kinder words. We would stop holding on to pride as if it will protect us forever. Death humbles the ego and softens the heart. There is also a quiet courage that comes from accepting mortality. When you know your time is limited, you stop living cautiously for approval. You start living boldly for truth. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that don't honor you. You stop waiting for permission. You begin to live as if your life actually matters, because it does. Worry convinces us that suffering should be avoided at all costs. But death teaches us that suffering is not the enemy. Meaninglessness is. Pain with purpose is bearable. Struggle with growth is valuable. It is not the hard moments we regret. It is the unlived ones. It is the love we didn't express, the chances we didn't take, the truth we didn't speak. When we stop worrying, we don't become careless. We become conscious. We choose our actions carefully because we understand their weight. We understand that every choice shapes the limited story we are writing with our lives. And that understanding brings responsibility, not fear. In the end, death is not asking us to stop caring. It is asking us to care about the right things. It asks us to stop worrying about what will fade and start honoring what will last. Love, integrity, presence, compassion, and inner peace. So if we are all going to die someday, what is the point of worrying? The point is not to worry. The point is to live, to breathe deeply, to love bravely, to forgive quickly, to trust the journey, to be present while we are here. Because life is not measured by how long we worried, but by how fully we lived before the end came.